Welcome back to our forum on the spirit of excellence here on JCN. Our next presenter, ladies and gentlemen, is Dr. Carlton Watson. Dr. Watson has been a member of the faculty at the College of the Bahamas, now the University of the Bahamas, since 2003. An associate professor in physics, he has served the institution as school chair and department head. An experimental condensed matter physicist by training, he conducts research in wide-ranging areas, including semiconductors, nanofabrication, e-learning, and open and distance learning. He formerly served as senior research scientist and manager of the microfabrication unit at TLC Precision Wafer Technology in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He currently serves as Dean of the Faculty of Pure and Applied Sciences, with overall responsibility for departments in the life and physical sciences, engineering, architecture, maritime, sustainability, agriculture, nursing, and pharmacy. He has contributed on many institutional and Bahamian national committees and task forces integral to national development. He holds a PhD in physics from the University of Iowa and a Bachelor of Science in Physics from Fairview A&M University. Dr. Carlton Watson.
Thank you and good evening. I want to thank you, Mr. Jones, for creating this platform for us to speak about what I think is one of the critical issues that we face nationally, is how do we build or continue to build on a platform of excellence to further promote and enhance our national development. And I want to speak just briefly and informally from three perspectives, or the three audiences. And I'm humbled in my position at the university that I get to work with an amazing cadre of colleagues, Bahamians who've gone to the best institutions in the world, and non-Bahamians who believe in what we are trying and about to accomplish and the mission of the University of the Bahamas. I'm also quite fortunate to work with young people, and I feel that that's my greatest passion and purpose, is to work with young people. So I want to really speak to young people in terms of excellence and what it takes, what I believe it takes to be excellent. And I would also want to preface my remarks by saying there's no one solution, there's no one way that we arrive at being excellent, and there's no one perspective. So, and that's why I think it's important that we have this multi-dimensional panel here, because I think while we find commonality because of our different backgrounds, we can speak to different types of learners, different types of young people. But I think the first thing that is important is to really understand your purpose, to understand what is it in you, innate in you, that you are called to accomplish in this life. I remember as a young person, there were people who would say, well, you're smart, you should be a doctor, right? You should be an attorney, you like to argue, you like to debate. But my passion has always been in science, from chemistry kits to astronomy kits. I recognized that that's what I wanted to do. I wasn't motivated by money, but by the things that I love. So I would say to young people to really, really take an inventory of what you are innately good at or feel passionate about. And I also reflect on a conversation I had with my undergraduate advisor. And there was a time I was going back and forth and thinking about what do I want to do. You know, I was in physics, I was double majoring in electrical engineering, and then there was a big push about chemical engineering. It's the, you know, it's the sector where you can graduate with the most money. And my advisor sat me down and he said, you look at these surveys and it's a range of values. That's just the average salary. That average has a high and a low. Who do you think is on the high end And who do you think is on the low end? Do you think a person who is not passionate about something and doing it just because they think it's the way to get a great salary is going to be at the high end or the low end? And so it made me evaluate that when you do things, if you are passionate about it, you will do, you will more likely do better at it. The other thing, and it's been said several times, and I think it's very important, after you find your purpose, is confidence. You have to have confidence. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to surround yourself. And so parents also, I think you need to speak positivity. It doesn't mean that you pander. It doesn't mean that you patronize folks, but it means that you encourage them and get them to realize that there is something, at least one good thing, one thing that they can be excellent at. Right? It could be music, could be sports, could be science, could be business, could be entrepreneurial, could be any number of things, and support them. So you have to have that confidence, because if you don't believe you can, there's no way it's going to be very difficult for you to actually do it. And the other thing that is critical is actually working at it, right? Being prepared to continually work at being excellent. And if we think about some of the folks that we associate with being excellent, let's look at basketball or sports. Everyone associates Michael Jordan as, and that's a debatable thing, Michael or LeBron or Kobe or whoever, but everyone associates Michael with being at least the best or second best. I think he's the best. But everyone knows, those around him knew that no one worked harder than Michael, right? No one worked harder than him. The same thing with Einstein. We often think of Einstein as being this creative genius. If you read the story of Einstein, they would say he would go into his room and he wouldn't come out sometimes for 4 days. His wife would just put food on at his door, and he would work constantly at problems. So it wasn't just some miracle that he was this creative genius, but he worked at it continually, and he persevered. When he found challenges and roadblocks, he kept working at it. So that's I think, is the other part of the ingredient: purpose, confidence, and perseverance, and work and executing. I think in the context of our national strive for excellence, we can also mirror that kind of thinking to the national level. And I say that meaning that we have to have a purpose for what we are trying to do as a nation. And in the various fields. So for example, let's say today or tomorrow we develop a platform in the education, the Ministry of Education, and every student got an A, legitimately. Right? All the BGCSE's results were perfect. But we still had crumbling infrastructure. We still didn't solve our clean energy problems. We still hadn't resolved what we can do with what we need to do to get Grand Bahama as an island moving and thriving like it used to be. Then could we say we had an excellent education system? So we also have to be able to evaluate the purpose for what we are doing as a nation, and to evaluate what is true success. I would also say that we have to build and create cultural confidence. I think all of us here know the amazing things that Bahamians have done and have accomplished in their own rights, locally and internationally. And so there's no question about our ability to be excellent. But quite often, I think there are spaces where we unfairly but naturally, as a small country, question our ability to do things. And so while we don't get a free pass, I think we need to reinforce and speak positively into our ability as a people to achieve certain things, building on the things that we have already done. In the athletics sphere, of course, we know that in the 400 meters, for example, that's an area that we can do the best in the world. We can compete. A small island, and you look at the probability of it, it's amazing that such a small island can produce consistently such great athletes in athletics, in swimming, etc. Business in the business space, financial space. So we have done a lot as a country. As we evolve as a developing country, less than 50 years old, coming out of the legacy of colonialism and everything else that comes. I'm not a social scientist, but I speak to enough social scientists to at least get an idea of some of the challenges. But we come from a legacy that has been positive in some ways, but also undermines how we see each other as a people and our abilities. And sometimes we don't support each other. Sometimes we think, as someone said, that the best is out there in North America or England, when really we have all the capacity, or we have the capacity to add strategically to what we have here and move forward. I know I've spoken a bit long, but I'll also wrap it up and talk about the University of the Bahamas and why I see it as one of the key institutions for promoting excellence. Inherent in our, and I'm paraphrasing in our mission, is promoting national development through excellence in research, teaching, scholarship, and service. That's our mission. Right? We know that we have done a tremendous and incredible job of producing young people who have gone on all over the world, have done well in graduate studies at Ivy League institutions or the best institutions in Canada, et cetera, who have worked in local industry. And so the institution, we have the confidence, we have the track record of knowing that that we do this or can do this, and that we have the ingredients locally to produce those kinds of students. Our next phase in terms of the transition from a college to a university requires that we build from a tradition of excellence in teaching into a tradition of excellence in research. And that's critical if we are going to be true to our mission, which is national development. And so one of the things that we are doing now in my faculty in particular, but a lot of other faculties, are creating graduate programs, heavily research intensive, that are going to look at problems that that will address problems that are of national concern. Again, clean energy, traffic, congestion, crime. And the best way to do that, we feel, is to have graduate programs where we can have young, energetic folks devote 3 or 4 years or 2 or 3 years full-time to looking at particular problems and finding solutions. And lastly, I would say one of the things that we are also doing to promote excellence is holding ourselves accountable. So one of the major initiatives that the university is going through right now is preparing itself for accreditation. So it's one thing to say you're great, but it's another thing to have an external body evaluate you and say you're doing what you say you're doing. And that's what we are going through now. We're seeking SACS accreditation, which is the most difficult and rigorous accreditation process in the United States. And they're not looking for particular criteria. They're looking for us to say, you say you're excellent in research, and this is how you do it, and they're checking off to see how we do it. And so that's very important, and that's going to really force and push us in the direction to really be accountable and to really execute some of those things that we need to do to continue to serve this country and to also be a destination where we'll attract more international persons coming to the university. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Watson. Speaker now is Renee Burrows, who is employed with Albany as an executive assistant. She has a unique work ethic, not typical to the average worker. Her attention to detail has moved her to manage many complex matters on a daily basis. A I can get it done kind of attitude every day makes her a model employee, we are told. In short, her style of work is professionalism and excellence personified. Renee Burrows.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I want to begin my contribution to this evening's discussion by giving kudos to every Bahamian that get up and go every day and function in a cordial and excellent way. Mr. Sands made a good contribution to that we see that every single day. These persons are a part of a growing segment of people that understand the importance of being present in a real way as a citizen. The hair braider, the refuse collector, the teller, the fuel attendant, the harvester, the packing house worker, the young man that sells peanut and cold beverages, along with many others. Every day is seen as a new opportunity to make their mark in the area of their skill, ability, and endeavor. I applaud these persons today across the length and breadth of this nation, from Grand Bahama to the north to Inagua in the south. There are some words spoken by the Greek philosopher Aristotle that says, excellence is an art won by training and habituation. We do not act rightly because we have virtue or excellence, but rather have those because we have acted rightly. These virtues are formed in man by his doing his actions. The American historian William Durant simplifies this by saying, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. In the past, it was not okay to just close the door if your child's bedroom was not clean, and Mr. Bowe made mention of it earlier. The responsibility was placed upon that child to treat their living space just like the rest of the house. The habit of cleanliness was established. We are very familiar with the old saying that charity begins at home and ends abroad. I believe that the same is true for excellence. Our houses must be the training ground for excellence. We must get it in at a young age. I believe that the result of our mediocre society is a direct result of what is or isn't being taught as a foundation in the lives of our citizens. My first point for consideration then is maybe, just maybe, we can put ourselves on the path of developing a culture of excellence by laying the right foundation in the home with our children. We must raise excellent citizens. It is important that I make the point that I do not in any way disregard persons who may not have come from home training that pulled excellence out of them, but they would have pulled themselves up by their own bootstraps and have operated with an excellent spirit that is to be applauded. Most of us in this room would have had an unpleasant service experience at one time or the other. The reason we are here this evening, in part, is to have a discourse on ways we can mitigate the spread and, where possible, eradicate the existence of mediocrity. This then means that employers must take the time to incorporate into the recruiting and retaining plan the critical component of training. Aristotle said it in part is an art won by training. Employers, whether on a large, medium, or small scale, must be aware that the lack of employee training is adding to the overall lack of excellence in our society. Perhaps there is an attribution of decrease in sales and business growth to mediocrity. I would like to suggest that employers identify those persons with that excellent spirit and engage them to be a part of the training plan. Some time back, I got a revelation of my own existence as a human being and a human doing. My human being is simply that I'm a part of the Homo sapiens species. My human doing, however, speaks to my character, my identity, the things that I do, my values, my love for self. The actual writings of Aristotle, without Durant's interpretation, tells us simply that the identity that we hold in high esteem is not the cause of our good actions, but the result of a life that performed those actions. Developing and maintaining a culture of excellence is quite easy to do, in my opinion. It is about our daily actions. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. The implication of that statement is then, it doesn't matter what we do on occasion or on one-off encounters. Rather, excellence is defined as a habit through your repeated actions. My second point for consideration then is that in order for us to maintain a culture of excellence, our excellence must be habit. Being excellent always and to everyone. On the 30th of January 1997, the late Sir Lyndon O. Pinling gave a convention address titled Vision Renewed. In the address, he said, and I quote, that he saw a nation where the individual and corporate productivity are synonymous with self-worth and where love for work is esteemed as a national obligation. Hailed the father of the nation, Sir Lyndon had a vision for our country, one where we would be industrious and a proud people. We have allowed, by our own tolerance, mediocrity to be normal. We have accepted it in our homes and in our businesses. Our demand for good attitudes and follow-through must come from every sphere of this country. The non-performing must begin to feel awed. All the things that make us true Bahamian are embedded in the way that we lived. It was excellence that dictated the way we treated our neighbors and our strangers. Maintaining a culture of excellence then rests with us. We who have children, we who use products and services in our country, we who work in someone's organization, we must know that everything we touch is a direct reflection of who we are, our self-worth. You see, we don't have just an ink signature, we have a service signature. My self-worth, my human doing motivates me to work to be a better person, to be a better parent, to be a better sibling, and to be a better Bahamian. Finally, I wish to suggest that the search for excellence need not go past you and me. We can read books, we can conduct surveys and do studies, we can produce reports. It is quite simple in my mind. Excellence must be taught in the home. We must be intentional about training in the workplace, using those persons who have already shown excellence in their daily lives. We must maintain excellence by making it a habit, and our self-worth must make us cognizant that service is our signature. With this unshakable spirit that we have as a people, I know that we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Renee Burrows. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our final break here on our program, The Spirit of Excellence. And when we return, we will have our final and what we call the cleanup speaker for our forum this evening. We'll come right back.